All right, guys, we are going to be reacting to Jan Scholten again. This is part 2 of my reaction video to Jan Scholten, and he's going to be talking about homeopathy and science. So remember, he was the guy who introduced classification into homeopathy to a excessive extent, in my opinion. What he does is goes beyond scientific homeopathy. It kind of breaks the boundaries of science by forcing some kind of abstract ideology into it. If you want to watch my previous video about that, you can find it in my videos, among my videos. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, there's a little small like button here below this video as well, just like this one. So you just hit that, right? And you can hit subscribe as well. Okay, that would be great. So let's get into this.
So far, we've spoken of homeopathy as a science, and even your speculative approach is still based on the scientific rationale. But
so far, we have discussed homeopathy, and even your speculative approach is based on science. So you're giving away everything that's wrong here about this whole thing in the beginning. So it is speculative. You're speculating that remedies can be categorized by grouping them by making groups based on these abstract mental qualities. Like all these remedies have a desire for affection or whatever it is. I don't even know what the group's characteristics are. But that is just speculative. And in science, if we're talking, are we talking about science or not? So if we're talking about science, in science, if we have something speculative, yeah, you're allowed to speculate in science. But then we don't take that right away and say that it's fact, and we don't have everyone adopt it and then just use it like it's accepted as a as the final truth, as is as something that has already been proven. So we don't do that in science, right? It needs to go through a testing phase. It needs to go through an extensive peer review. That is science, right? We have peer review in science, guys. So none of that happened with this method, so-called method of classification. And most homeopathic schools have adopted this as truth. Okay, so that is very bad. That's not science. All the while saying that it's actually speculative. It's speculative. And Jan Scholten is nodding here, right? He says, yes, it's speculative. So come on, give me a break, guys.
there are also people in our profession that go beyond what I might call modern homeopathy to what I might call postmodern homeopathy.
Modern homeopathy is bad enough. We don't need to go into postmodern homeopathy at all, right? So-called modern homeopathy is nonsense. There's no such thing. There's homeopathy and there's non-homeopathy. And well, let's see what he says.
For instance, using unorthodox approaches such as paper remedies or PC resonances, and the idea there is that such remedies are produced by projecting a person's consciousness onto the water, rather than as traditionally prepared through a reproducible method.
Okay, so if you don't know what paper remedies are, basically, I'm I'm not too familiar with these things, but as far as I know, you write down the name of a remedy on a piece of paper and you think about it or something. You meditate on it, and then it's like that's how you give the remedy, right? So this is clearly on its face nonsense. So it tells you a lot about these people that they're actually discussing this, right? So they're even considering this as, something acceptable. And if you listen carefully, Jan is going to say that he doesn't use them, but he doesn't find them unacceptable. Okay, so this is the kind of person that he is. The father of modern classification homeopathy thinks that paper remedies might work. So-called paper remedies.
So I'm interested in knowing whether you've used such remedies at all yourself.
No, I don't use those remedies. I keep myself to real basic homeopathic remedies.
I'm curious, how come?
There are also people, for instance, who use radionics, things like that. And sometimes it will be easy for me because I want to prescribe sometimes remedies that I cannot get, and then with radionics you can make them.
Right.
But I decided not to do that because there are two reasons for it. First is that I will lose some credibility for a lot of people. And now I can say, this is really the homeopathic remedy that...
Yes, you lost all your credibility because you're not saying that meditative remedies are nonsense. You're actually saying that they might work. You've lost all your credibility.
Prescribed, so there's no question about what it is. And with radionics and also with paper remedies, there's questions. What are you really prescribing?
Yeah.
So
it's not a question. It's not a question. You are not prescribing anything. Okay.
I think it's one step too far ahead. And so I don't have experience with it, but I know from quite a lot of homeopaths who say that it works and that they have good experience with it.
Oh, you heard it from someone. Okay. Then let's accept it and spread it as truth among the professional community, right? Great.
So is it science or is it shamanism? Like, where do you place?
Okay, shamanism might work, guys. I mean, I am not ruling out that shamanism works. I think there might be some people who actually can perform shamanistic acts. But writing down the name of a remedy on a piece of paper and then expecting it to work is not shamanism. It's nonsense. Okay? There's a big, big difference.
Good shamanism is science.
Sure. And yet you don't practice that. So that's why I'm trying to understand what makes you ultimately stick with.
The whole thing is that you cannot split consciousness from life. And that's even the case in physics, where the consciousness of the experimenter influences the experiment.
Yeah. It happened in the last video and also right now I will at this part I agree again with at this point I agree again with Jan. Of course, I'm not going to disagree with every word he says. Yes, consciousness and is a part of reality, and therefore science should be studying it, and it's not. So that is an interesting question, and I guess shamanism deals with consciousness. So discovering that could be, science. So I actually agree with him here.
Right.
So the whole idea that that shouldn't be possible is unscientific.
Okay, so you believe it's possible, but yet...
But I don't do it because I'm busy with scientific development and it would interfere with that.
Right.
And it could.
Okay, so you would do paper remedies? Okay, this is the point where he says that, I guess. He's saying that he would do paper remedies, non-existent remedies, taking thoughts, whatever that is. I don't know.
Very well be that it works, but I don't know from my own experience.
Okay, so maybe it's something that you perhaps might be open to exploring at a later stage of development of homeopathy as a science, for example?
Or for instance, when I'm desperate in a case where a patient is dying.
When you are desperate in a case and the patient is dying, you're gonna do the paper remedies? Give me a break. Okay, this is crazy. Guys, don't do paper remedies when your patient is dying, okay? It's like, tip of the day. Just don't do it, okay?
And I want to have a remedy, maybe I could do it.
Right.
And you don't want to wait 2 months when they die tomorrow. But the other thing is that it won't develop our science further.
And that's a very interesting point.
Because then you prescribe it, but you never know what you have done.
Yeah.
The whole idea of classification, when I would have done that with paper remedies, what would people have said?
People would have said that you are insane. That's what people would have said. And you're still not, against them. You're just saying the optics of using them would be bad. So guys, this is Jan Scholten for you. There you have it. Okay, so I think that's all that needs to be said about this guy. Okay, it's just the optics. Otherwise, we could give remedies by writing them down on a piece of paper and thinking about them. Okay.
You're not grounded enough to, you have to have a good grounding to become more subtle. You don't start with subtle, your basis has to be firm. And then the upper part of your building can be very light, but not the lower part of it.
Okay, and you're still building the foundations.
Yeah.
Now, despite what you just said, you still dance on the edge of the avant-garde through your sense proving. So could you describe, first of all, what it is, and then how do you justify it as compared to more elaborate provings, whether they be full provings or partial conventional provings?
Now, sense proving, how I do it is I do it mostly with plants.
All right. Let's skip ahead. We're not interested in this talk about proving, so let's skip ahead to a more interesting part, the future of homeopathy.
So it's a big shift. So my idea is that the more remedies you know, the more people you can cure.
So currently,
That's true, by the way.
Homeopathy, it seems it's, even though it's dealing with a very advanced form of energy, in a sense it's a young science. It's much like, say, the science of electricity was in the beginning of the 19th century, where they were still tinkering with phenomena and making generalizations, but not yet having the Maxwell's equations, for example, to make sense of the underlying mathematical order. And what you're trying to do is...
No. Good try, though, but no. I think we have most of homeopathy figured out. And you're just trying to come up with some way to leave your mark on the legacy of homeopathy by coming up with the revolutionary method. That is all that's happening. But it was a good analogy, though, so Good job, whoever this person was.
To come up with those equations.
Yeah.
And ultimately figure out what's the underlying structure of homeopathy.
That's basically what we need.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, it's not.
Maybe we need another form of mathematics for it.
Right.
Because measurements are not easy in the internal world. Mm-hmm. So maybe we need something like a topology instead of.
Yes, this is what I was saying. Measuring mental characteristics is almost impossible. They're subjective and they're very, very hard to deal with. And we have a solution for this problem in homeopathy. We don't only look at the mental symptoms. Yeah, it's very, very simple. You have to look at physical symptoms as well. Physical keynotes, etc. But no, you want to be talking
Science and metric mathematics, if that makes any sense for you.
Yeah, I can imagine if mathematicians actually got exploring what sort of math would match homeopathy. It would be a very interesting marriage of sciences.
But that's still too far away.
Right.
We're not at that level yet.
Yeah. What sort of direction would you like to see homeopathy head in the next decade or two?
We have two levels of development. One is sociologically and one is scientifically. Mm-hmm. I think
we spoke about
the scientific is, I think, obvious where I want to go. More understanding, more classifications, and more even trying.
No, please no. Don't double down on classification. Just stop it, okay? Please, we are begging you.
To go to a level deeper of really understanding, maybe in a mathematical formula, that you understand what you do. Mm-hmm. Sociologically, I would like to have it to become mainstream, that it's just a university study, and that's what it should be.
Yeah, okay, so we agree on that. Yes, we would like for it to become mainstream. But obviously, the world is going into a completely different direction. It seems like the controllers of the world want homeopathy to go away. So I think you're also aware of that. And it's looking like it's not going to change. So I think, yeah, that's very sad.
And that it should be incorporated in mainstream medicine as a specialism. My idea is that the best way to do homeopathy is not as in the past that they had homeopathic hospitals, but that you have hospitals where homeopaths work parallel with normal doctors. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, that would be great to have hospitals with homeopaths working in parallel to their doctors, and yeah.
As a homeopath, when you can treat someone well, the normal doctors have to do less. When you cannot treat them well, they can prevent things happening. And that's why it's very good to work parallel and not to mix the two.
Oh, right, okay.
That's my vision of how it should be.
Like integrative medicine, but done with different specialists that respect each other.
Yeah.
So what can we homeopaths do to raise the academic level of homeopathy, even while homeopathy is still outside the universities and there's very little leisure time for people to practice theoretical homeopathy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That is a good question. Okay, so this is your first amazing question. Okay, so what can we do? First of all, we need to establish standards. We need to agree on standards. And, just coming out with an idea without establishing standards and saying its truth, and then forcing everyone to adopt it as truth is not the way to do science, academics. First, you need to establish the standards. We need to agree as a community of homeopaths We need to agree on standards. And then we can take the knowledge forward. Okay? Without standards, you're just speculating.
Just cure as many people as you can. Because the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And the more we can treat and cure real severe diseases, the more it cannot be denied anymore. That's what it is about. Become better homeopath. But I think the scientific...
Yeah, well, true. But I think we have a lot of good results. We can show amazing results, and it hasn't had any effect because, as I said, homeopathy is right now being erased by the controllers of the world. So it doesn't matter even if you resurrect the dead, even if you perform magical feats, nobody's going to care because it's being suppressed in the news. It's being completely eradicated because it doesn't conform to the mainstream narrative at all. It's the most incompatible thing with the mainstream narrative right now.
Development is a very important issue. And with classifications and getting more remedies, then you have much more possibilities to cure cases.
So do you have a vision, or at least an inkling of a vision of the future based on your homeopathic work?
I don't know where it will go. Homeopathy, when it's really true, it will survive and it will become mainstream.
All right, so thank you for listening. This was part 2 of reacting to Jan Scholten. And if you're interested in a homeopathic consultation, which is based on classical scientific homeopathy, you can get in touch on Signal, Telegram, Simplex. You can find those on in my channel description.